So we have a cover for the jack to keep water off. Under here, these are your switches. There's a light switch, and this is to raise and lower the jack. There's also a plug where you can put the hand crank in, so you can manually crank that if there's no power. Under here, of course, are your propane tanks. Okay, your propane tanks, this is where your regulator is located. This lets you select which tank you're going to use. There's a little pointer there. You can point left or right. And right now it's green, as you can see. So we do have gas in the left tank. When the tank runs out, that'll turn red. And you can remove these and get them refilled. You'll also see there's 2 notches in the lock bar. And when you're taking the tanks on and off, for the cover to fit properly, you can see one tank has to be in the outer notch and one tank has to be in the inner notch, and that'll space these correct so that the cover slides over properly. Now when you're not using the RV, it's a good idea to shut the tanks off. There's also below, there's a battery shut-off switch, and that'll shut off the DC batteries out front here, just so they don't go dead while the unit's being stored. That'll prevent any discharge. But anytime you're towing or you're camping, you're going to have the switch on. Obviously, it's just really made for storage. One more thing I'll just point out to you. So I'm looking down below the frame, and I'm going to zoom in. You're going to see here there's a circuit breaker. So that little black dot, that is the reset button for the circuit breaker. There's another one below as well. And those are for, well, one of those runs your slide rooms and the other runs the rest of the camper. So if you have an issue with something not working, you may want to check those. Now there's a switch here. This is to turn on the front light. They call this the docking light. This kind of just lights up this front area if you got to get into your tanks, bottles, anything like that. This is the storage compartment that's under the bed. We put some stuff in here for you. Your hitch is in here. There's also a griddle and a bracket for the griddle. There's also an outside table that you'll see. We have your starter kit, your bike rack that goes on the rear ladder. Also, the electric cord is in there. A whole bunch of goodies to go through. This is underneath the booth dinette. This is for storage. There's a door inside too. You can get to that from the inside. I'm going to lean into here for a second, and you'll see you've got your waste valves located. Some of your waste valves, rather, right here. So you'll see on the left a large black handle. On the right, you'll see a small gray handle. And there's a sticker right here. It says gray water outlet and sewer. So when you're done camping, this is to empty out your wastewater. Black is the toilet, gray is your sink and shower. And you always do black first. And you can also rinse the black tank. If you walk back here, you'll see a port. It says tank flush. And if you hook a hose here for a minute or two, that rinses your black water tank out for you. So you do that when you're through camping. There is a second drain location down here, and you'll see this says gray tank number 2. This RV, most of these RVs now, they're coming with 2 gray tanks. And gray tank 2 is for your kitchen sink. So remember up there, you've got black and gray, that's toilet and bathroom sink and shower. This is gray 2, which is the galley or the kitchen sink. There's gauges inside, by the way, so you can check how much water you have in the tank. But that's where your drain locations are. A couple things over here. First is this port. This is to fill your fresh water tank. This is if you go to a state park or you're boondocking. This is so you put water in your tank so you're bringing a fresh water supply with you. This port that says city water, this is the main port you're going to use when you're at the campground. And this you leave connected to the hose. And this gives you direct pressure inside the RV at all the water faucets. This does not fill the tank. This is for direct connection. This is to fill the tank. This is used when you're boondocking. This you use when you're at a campground. There's also, you'll see, this is a cable hookup over here. There's a satellite hookup over here. Remember, this one's tank flush. That's to flush your black tank. This one is antifreeze. This is used during winterization, so no water. That one is only for antifreeze for winterization. There's a little light here. You can turn that light on and off. Inside this cabinet is located your water filter. There's also a wrench that I put in here. Hopefully this doesn't get lost. That's why I put it in here. That's to install the water filter. This unit's been flushed and water tested. We do not install the water filters. We have well water here. If you'd like to install the filter, it's in the drawer. It's still shrink wrapped. And that's what your wrench is here for. That's to install the water filter in that housing. You'll also see your pump is located here. There's also a three-way valve that's right here. And that's for winterizing. That basically shuts off your tank and turns on this antifreeze inlet for winterization. So you don't come in here, you don't mess with any of that. The only time that gets touched is during the winterization process. Back here's where your electric goes in. This unit is a 50 amp service. All of the Superlites now come with a 50 amp cord and have a 50 amp plug. You can still use this on 30 amp if you choose. I have adapters for that. So if you go to a campground that only has 30, you could still do that. That's fine. In here, this is the water heater. This is controlled from the inside of the RV. This isn't something you have to open ever, okay? The only time you're gonna come in here is to drain the water heater, and that's down here. This is the anode rod. That's the drain hole for the water heater. This comes out during winterization. So that's when you need to come in to open this to drain it. Other than that, you're gonna leave this closed. This gets operated from the inside. You really don't mess with anything out here other than for service and maintenance. Okay, on the back wall, you'll see this is a stove vent. This is if you cook inside. There's a little flap that has to be opened. And you can see how this opens now. When you're driving down the road, you snap it shut. That's for the stove if you're gonna cook inside. Way up top, you'll see the rear view camera. The camera works when the RV is connected to your car and you have to have your running lights turned on, and that makes the camera come on. Down here, this is the vent for your furnace. Again, controlled from the inside. This is the vent for your fridge. Controlled from the inside, nothing in there to worry about. In here is your outside shower. This is the switch for your rear stabilizer jacks. Works the same as the front. We're gonna cut to another video and I'm gonna go over the steps as well as the awning adjustment. So be right back. Now right now I have the awning extended all the way, and And this is great for a sunny day. If it's windy or stormy, you're gonna wanna close this thing up. Don't leave it out and risk it. You can manually lower this if it's a light rain. To do that, grab it right here, and you're just gonna pull it straight down, and then you tighten this knob. And get the knob tight, and now you can see we've created some pitch, and that's good for light rain to keep water. You can do that on both sides of this awning to lower it. But if it's a heavy rain, you're gonna wanna close this thing. Be careful with it. Normally these knobs, you leave them loose, and that allows this to kind of flex and move around a little as it's needed, you know, as you're going through. So the steps, make sure the door's open all the way for your steps when you open and close these, because you don't want it to rub on the door. You see these just lift in, and then you would close the door. When you lower them, this little pin, you can pop that pin out to adjust the legs. So right now I have 4 holes. Depending on the ground, you may have to adjust those so that the steps are flat and they don't rock. The first time you close the door, you want to look down here that there's adequate clearance, because as you can see, if you have the step too high, it's going to hit the door, and you don't want to damage any of that. So just the first time you close the door, make sure that you don't have the step up too high, and once you see that you got a gap down there, you're pretty much good to go. There is a hookup over here for if you have you want to put a TV outside on the bracket. There is a bracket there pre-installed that's for an outside TV. Those are your hookups. In the center of the RV, you'll see another camera. That is your side view camera. It looks just like the backup camera. It's the same type of camera. This camera, there's a switch inside your camper to turn this on. I'll show you where that is once we get inside. There's a hole down here in the tin, and if you look through, you'll see a crank or a spot for you to put the crank. The crank's under the bed. It's in that storage compartment. That will allow you to manually crank the slide out room, so you can open and close those slide outs if there's a problem or dead battery, no power or whatnot. You can open and close those slide outs manually. Okay, looking back to the stove. So remember, this turns on your light and your fan. Remember, always use the fan if you're gonna cook in here. And you gotta open that flap on the outside too. To use the stove, you're gonna open the glass so it folds back first, and then it lifts. To light the top burners, you're gonna turn this to light. I'm just gonna light all 3 to demonstrate. This is your sparker. You just hold this down until the burners start, okay? Pretty simple. The oven, there's an extra step. To run the oven, you're gonna push this in. You turn it to pilot. You then have to hold this in and hit your igniter over here. This may take up to a minute to start. And while you're doing that, I only have one hand right now, so I can't show you, but you're gonna look under here and you'll see a flame on the oven pilot. You can see it sparking, but I don't have a hand to hold the knob in right now. But to light the oven, hold this in, hit your sparker, keep an eye on the pilot. Once it's lit, continue to hold this for 20 seconds, and then you can set your temperature. If you don't wait the full 20 seconds, it's gonna go out and you'll have to start over. When you're through with the oven, Go all the way to off. When you're using the oven, make sure the glass is up. Make sure there's no towels up here. This is where the heat comes out of the oven. So make sure there's nothing over there that can catch fire, and always run the fan as well. There's an outlet back here. You just kind of pull this up if you want to use it. There's 2 USB ports. This outlet is a ground fault outlet. You'll see a green light on there. In an RV, they wire every outlet to the ground fault, so it's protected. So if something's not working, you'll have to come and reset this outlet. Okay, this is the main control panel for the RV. Up top here, you're going to see the buttons you press to check the gauges. This will show you how much water is in your tank. Remember, grade 2. So it says empty. Remember, grade 2 is the kitchen sink. Gray is the bathroom sink and shower. Black is the toilet. Fresh is your fresh water supply if you've filled that tank. Battery shows you battery condition. On the right, you'll see water pump. And I showed you where the pump was outside, but what that pump does is creates water pressure in your system. That's used when you're boondocking. You're going to leave the water pump turned on. If you're in a state park, you leave the water pump turned on. And that creates water pressure using your own onboard water supply. Anytime you're in a campsite and you hook onto a hose, you do not use the pump. The pump is only used if you're standalone. Tank heater. This is the heat elements in the underbelly. This is used to heat up your tank so that they don't freeze if you're camping in particularly cold environment. You're going to turn this on, and that heats your underbelly. These 2 switches on the top control your water heater, and you'll see you have water heater electric and water heater gas. Those are self-explanatory. You can put them both on together if you'd like. Gas will work anywhere. So if you're boondocking or in a state park, you're going to use the gas. If you get somewhere where you plug into electricity, then you can use the electric and you won't burn your gas. It's important that you do not turn these on in a dry state. So if you're when you don't have water in the camper is what I mean. If you don't have any water, you don't want to turn them on because it will overheat. You'll damage the water heater. Make sure you always have water flowing. Go to your kitchen sink, turn on your hot water, make sure water's coming out. Verify that the water's working properly before turning on your water heater. That's very important. You leave those on when you're camping. They take about 20 minutes to heat up. After that, they go on and off automatically as needed. These are to open and close the slide out rooms. That's to open and close the awning. Down here are some light switches. Interior, that turns on all these ceiling lights. There's a lot in here. You can turn them off manually too. There's a switch so you don't have to have all the lights on. Porch light is the yellow light that's on the outside. Awning light is the LED strip that's under the awning. Step light, there's a little night light next to the step. Wi-Fi turns on the Wi-Fi booster. The Wi-Fi booster has to be configured before you use it with your device. If you look on the sticker, they tell you the default password and the control panel to log in with so that you can configure the Wi-Fi booster if you choose to use it. Well, here, while we're up here, we'll go through the rest of the stuff in the bedroom. This is the switch to turn on your lighting. And remember, the lights have individual switches. You can also turn them off if you don't want them all on. There's another switch here for light. There's also 2 reading lights. These don't have switches. You just push up on the bulb to turn those on and off. There's a handle in the front here you can use to raise the bed, and there's some of your gear I showed you on the outside over there. Got to push this down. There's some plugs back here. You got 110 and USB. There's also some extra USB ports up there that can be used. There's ports up here if you wanted to mount a TV. I do sell the special brackets The bracket mounts here, the TV swings over here, so you can view from bed if you'd like. There is a latch here. This is for the door. Remember when you're driving this thing that the door stays latched. Last thing's up here. This is the vent and fan combo. This also has a shield over it, so this can be open even in the rain, and it won't rain any water coming through. These are great to leave open for ventilation in a trailer. It's very important that these stay vented, especially in the humid summer months. These buttons, of course, turn the fan on. There's 4 speeds here, high, medium, low, and have a window open if you're going to run those. There's another ground fault outlet here in the bathroom. I showed you the other one that's in the back, and just keep in mind that rear outlet runs all the outlets in the rear of the camper. This GFI will control all of the outlets in the front of the RV, so just keep that in mind. There's a wall switch here to turn on your ceiling light. There's another fan vent combo here as well. This RV toilet is a pedal flush, and the way these work, you push the pedal halfway, that fills it with water. These toilets don't automatically refill like at home, so you have to fill this manually. So you push the pedal halfway to fill, all the way to flush. There's a latch here on these shower doors, and very important when you're traveling, make sure the doors are in the travel position, so all the way in, and make sure this is snapped down. Very important that these do not bang around when you're moving down the road. On your shower, underneath the shower, you'll see this metal valve. This is the optional shower miser that can be used. This valve is installed so that when you're boondocking and you only have 50 gallons of water, this is to help you conserve water. What this does, before you take a shower, you raise the valve, you turn on the hot water, and you wait for this to change color. No water is going to come out when you're doing this, but it's going to recirculate until it's warm. And once it's warm, this will turn from blue to white. Once it's white, that means your hot water is at the fixture. You can then flip this down and you should receive instant hot water from the shower head. This is designed so that you're not wasting cold water down the drain while you're waiting for the shower to heat up. Now, if you go to a campground that has a hose and you have unlimited water and you're connected in, you leave this in the down position, which is the normal position. You can leave this down all the time. You don't ever have to lift this if you don't want to, but it's here for when you're dry camping off your limited supply. That may help you save a little water. Otherwise, you leave it in the down position. This is the monitor for your solar. This is lit up now. This panel is basically just a monitor to show you that the panel's on, and it'll show you the battery voltage. The buttons, they don't do anything. They change the screen, and it gives you other diagnostics. It's really nothing you got to mess with. You don't ever have to touch this. It works all the time. Anytime the sun's out, this is going to charge your battery. Right now it's reading 13.7 volts. It's putting out 0.2 amps. It's fully charged. It's not going to crank up, but this will go up to 5 or 8 amps if it needs to. Battery's at 100%. We have full power now, so that's really not really needed to do anything. Down the bottom, that's your propane leak detector and carbon monoxide detector. Up top here is your smoke detector. This is the thermostat for your heating and cooling. This is a 2-zone thermostat in case you ever wanted to add in a second air conditioner, but the way this is configured right now, you're going to see zone 1, and that's the only active zone. There's 2 systems that this will operate, the heat and the cool. So if you hit this system button, you'll see it's going to go to cool, heat, and then it goes back to off. Very simple. It just goes around in a loop. If you want to turn the heat on, you know, you put it on heat. It's going to say gas heat. That's going to run your furnace. If you want to run it on air conditioning, you put it on cool. And right now I just want to point out to you, this is operating in a fan only state right now. The fan mode just circulates air around. To actually make it cool, you're going to hit mode. And you're going to go to where it says cool. See, now it says high cool and there's a picture of a snowflake. That'll actually make cold air in here. This is what you use to set the temperature. You can see right now it's 76 degrees inside. You can set this to, say I put it on 61. That'll cool this thing down to us to 61 degrees. This also has some main outlets you can open. So this is a ducted system, which means you're going to get airflow out of these ducts all the way to the front of the unit. At nighttime, obviously, you know, you're going to want that to stay cool, but during the day, especially when it's 90 plus, you want to open this, and this sends the air directly into the living room where it will cool off the unit the fastest. So don't be afraid to open these if you need it a little cooler. That's what they're there for. This is a built-in design to cool off the large room in the camper, because even though these ducts are convenient, you're losing efficiency in the ductwork. This is going to work best to cool off the living room. You can crack these open. All right, we're going to shut this off. So I'm just going to hit system. I went to heat and off, and that's going to shut off. As you can see, this is not instant. That thermostat takes a few seconds to send the command up to turn off the air conditioning system. In here, a couple things. I mentioned the water filter. That's the water filter if you ever want to install that. They give you a spare cable wire for the bedroom if you want to put another TV in somewhere. They give you the extra wire. This is the gas hose for the outside griddle. There's also a radio remote. In here is the paperwork. This is the instructions for the RV. This is the tire pressure monitor. This has a mount kit and also a cable to recharge in the package. I didn't open the whole package up. This is already charged and programmed. When you're going down the road, flip that to on. This is motion activated, so it's going to be off until the trailer starts to roll. Once it starts to roll, you will see a temperature and a pressure pop up for each of the 4 tires, and that'll allow you to monitor tire pressure when you're going down the road. If it gets low, it'll beep at you. You can check it periodically to make sure your pressure's good. Okay, in this cabinet you're going to see, well, this is the outlet. This is where the TV is plugged in. If you look straight up, you will see a green light. There's also a switch right here. It's hard to see. You'll have to look for this on your own. But this green light tells us the antenna is on. If you go somewhere with cable, you have to switch that off. There's no cable here, so I'm going to leave the antenna on and show you how to set the TV. You're going to use this remote control. You're going to hit menu. And on your menu, you're going to go over to where it says channels. And you go down to this auto channel search. That will find all the local stations and put them into the TV. That was already run here, so we got all our local stations. This TV has some built-in speakers. If you like, you can use those. It's also hooked up to your radio. The radio has some nice built-in speakers, and I'm going to show you how to turn those on. Start with the radio. This is going to go to FM mode first. You can change your channels here. There's 3 buttons here for your speakers. One is right here. 2 is the bedroom. There's 2 speakers in the bedroom. And 3 is outside speakers. There's two outside speakers. That's zone 3. You can put these all on together. So this is FM mode. This is just radio. There's also a Bluetooth mode. If you have some music on your phone, you can play it through the radio if you'd like. If you hit this mode button, you're going to see TV audio. You're going to go past that. You have to go over to TV audio 2. And that plays your TV through these speakers. It sounds much better. This also has a CD and a DVD player built in. You hit that, go back to FM mode. Hold that button down, that turns it off. And then we'll shut the TV off. Okay. We're going to go to a second video that I pre-recorded. I'm going to go over lowering this table because it's a little tricky to do with one hand. But I'll show you how to lower the table. Before you travel, you're going to want to lower the table, obviously. And also the couch. We'll go over opening and closing the couch. Again, a little tricky to do with one hand. But basically, you're going to remove the cushions. These are Velcroed, and you want to put your hand back to release the Velcro. Same with these cushions. These cushions are Velcroed, and you don't want to just yank these because you can rip them. So make sure you put your hand back to gently remove the Velcro. But to do the couch, you're going to pull these cushions off, and then you grab this in the center, and you lift it and pull it out. Once it's out, these are your legs. These will fold down. It's pretty self-explanatory. I just can't show you with the one hand. I really need two hands to do it. So I'll cut in the other video where I go over that. Okay, so before traveling, you're going to want to collapse this table. So to do that, the easiest way, of course this is going to be a little tricky with one hand, but the easiest way is to lean the table up on its side, and then you can get to the release mechanism. So you're just going to pull that up and it'll click. And then if you push here with your hand, this will fold the legs in. And then you're just going to lay this back down, and it's going to sit right on these holders right here, okay? Hold it in place. All right. So that's set down for travel. And then to make it in a bed, you're just going to rearrange the cushions. You'll see there's a little Velcro back here. And you should put your hand back here and remove that Velcro gently. So, you know, don't just grab the cushion and yank it, because you don't want to rip the Velcro stitching. So be gentle when you remove those. Okay, so that's everything in here. Guys, remember, if you have any questions, feel free to call us. You can also email us. You can also text us. If we're closed, feel free to text us. We can get back to you. Thanks. Okay, in the bucket is your starter kit, and I'll go over some of the items in here with you. So this is a wash and wax. This is used on the exterior. This is a non-abrasive cleaner. It's something that's safe to use on the roof, the awning, your car. It's a nice soapy cleaner to use to keep it looking nice. There's also some RV marine toilet paper. Now this paper is special for RVs because when it sits in your holding tank, it will dissolve, and that's to prevent clogging and to prevent fouling the sensor that tells you how much water's in the tank. So make sure you use RV marine paper when you're out camping. There's also a 25-foot freshwater hose, and this is Just like a garden hose, except this is drinking water safe. This is what you use to put water into your camper. And this is a waste hose, so this is what's used to empty the camper. On the other side, remember where you had the cap, where your black and gray valves are. You take the cap off, this screws on, the other end goes into the port in the ground. This is the electric adapter. This goes on the end of the cord, and this converts from a camper plug, which is a 30 amp, down to a 15 amp, so you can plug this in at home or with an extension cord if you need to. Inside this bag are 4 pouches or 3 pouches of the chemical for the toilet. And before you go camping, you take 1 pouch, you flush it down the toilet, and that stays in your holding tank while you're camping. The last item is the water pressure regulator. This screws on to the faucet at the campground before you connect your hose. And that's to limit the water pressure coming into your camper so that it doesn't damage anything inside the unit.